Hi everyone, welcome back to the weekly forecast for January the 27th going into January the 27th going into February the 2nd. Neptune is making its big shift and let me know how you're all doing with it guys because Neptune it has a kind of confusing influence and I'm really wondering how you guys are doing with the current energy. This morning I overslept. That never happens to me as a Virgo rising, you guys probably know, but the big shift of Neptune, wow, it is a lot as an Aries for sure. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Jean Claude Beyond Mystic on YouTube and also, of course, on Rumble. So there are so many great shows. Be sure not to miss out on one of these. And I've actually got something quite excited to share with you guys today because I'm going to implement some new readings here on the Beyond Mystic Academy. On the consultation page, from now on, you will be able to book in a compatibility chart. So I'm going to do synastry and also the composite chart readings. And of course, probably a lot of you are wondering, well, Astrid, what's the difference? A synastry chart is actually how two people affect each other and actually how they complement one another. And then the composite chart is actually how two people together operate as one union. That is actually a chart that doesn't belong to one specific person. It is actually, it belongs to the relationship itself and how your relationship is actually having a kind of a life on its own. So, a synastry is when you want to understand the chemistry between one another. That can be when there's a little bit of tension or confusion, or simply why is this person affecting me so much. It can be used in relationship, it can also be used as friends or as a family bond, for example with your mother. If there are some difficult themes going on, you can really learn how to complement each other better and how you can like eliminate some of the confusion or some of the more difficult dynamics that are like underlying. And then the composite chart is of course the relationship that already exists. It's very beneficial if you are in a spiritual union, how you are actually, yeah, navigating this life together. You can ask questions about commitment, your future direction, or the endurance of the relationship. That works most, it works best with like having an intimate relationship, but it can also be used if you need to work with one another on a daily basis. It can also be very helpful for that. Or if you want to maybe hire a new employer or start up a new business partnership, all of that can be implemented and can be used in a very beneficial way. So, of course, you can now use the promo code Valentine50 to save 15% off. And of course, you can book that at the Beyond Mystic consultation page. And I've also opened up a few spots in my schedule if you want to gift this present for Valentine's Day. So, yeah, I've made some room for you guys if you want to give this as a present. So, the week ahead, oh my God, how are you guys doing with Mars conjunct Pluto? Isn't it a lot to deal with? And hi everyone, hi Vicky and Claudette and Garden Star. So happy, and Amy is here as well. Thank you so much. Also, thank you all so much for joining. Well, it's been a lot, right? Mars and Pluto together. I've noticed some intensity going on within my neighborhood for sure, but once you are aware, you can like distance yourself from it way more easier. But I saw so many people honking their horns in traffic and shouting at each other in the supermarket, and I was like, wow, this Pluto Mars, it is intense. So hopefully you guys didn't experience too much upheaval because with all these Aquarian energies combined, I've really heard a lot of intense stories. Someone showed me the footage of their camera that is like pointed at like the driveway, and a random car just was speeding very very fast and crashed onto the front porch, destroying my friend's car, and I'm like, wow. And he has a natal Aquarius stellium, so there's like a stellium on top of a stellium, and yeah, that just like is really really shocking. So wow, a lot of tense energy in the sky, and then Pluto Mars together, very destructional, as you've already probably spotted in the headlines as well. So yeah, we're gonna dive a little bit deeper at what this week is gonna bring, because there's a lot of intensity. And actually, before I dive deeper, I also want to highlight some charts of some mundane charts of Minnesota. So here, of course, we have the chart for the 7th of January, when the first the first shooting took place with Renee Good. And I want to show you some things in the chart. So on the 7th of January, what really stood out to me is that here we see Uranus. And Uranus is, of course, the ruler of Aquarius, where there's so much going on right now. But here we can see Uranus about to station direct on the 4th of February. So it's like ready to like gear up, switch motions, and come back online. And that is when it's like strongest. So we can see Uranus here on top of Uranus. So Minnesota actually, in their mundane chart, they have a Uranus return. So that always signifies a lot of upheaval, a lot of protests. Uranus rules over the revolutionary aspects, rebellion, shocks, surprises. And I want to highlight as well that for the US mundane chart, you're also going to have your Uranus return pretty soon. It's already going to be very, very palpable after the summer, and then fully into 2027. So just a heads up. But we also see Uranus conjunct Jupiter. Jupiter makes everything bigger, it enlarges everything, it blows things up. In the 4th house, the house of the people, another thing that I've noticed is that during that day, the moon, which resembles females, is actually conjunct the south node in the 8th house. And Minnesota also has a nodal return. So this is very distant, very karmic. And the south node has a very devouring aspect to it, a devouring quality. It wants to eat, eat, and take. And it's in the 8th house of intensity as well. And what really baffled me is that around the time of the shooting, the moon was around 10 degrees. And on the 3rd of March, we are about to see a lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo at 12 degrees. So almost exact conjunct the south node in the 8th house. So that really baffled me. And then with Uranus opposite Mars, Mars is in the 10th house. It is authority. Mars is in Scorpio. It's a pretty intense placement. And with Uranus opposition, that indicates a lot of volatility and upheaval. If we then look at the Minneapolis chart of that exact date, we see that the whole stellium in Aquarius, in Capricorn, is actually squaring off to the whole stellium in Aries. That in itself is pretty intense stuff, you guys. And then that in itself also makes a square to the sun in the 10th house of authority, Jupiter enlarging everything. So this is a very big T square. It is very intense energy. And I've told it in my weekly, I think it was the first or the second weekly, where we had all these specific conjunctions here that people would act a little bit crazy, out of control, very big assertive nature to it. Mars is our core essence. The sun is our core essence. Mars is really about our energy, our drive, our assertiveness. Whenever all of this blends, it is a very big cocktail for a lot of passion, extreme behavior, conflict, and the fact that this squares off with the whole stellium in Aries, which resembles war and conflict. That is pretty crazy for me to see. And yeah, it's just like it's really insane. Like if you look at the 24th, because of course we had a new shooting over the weekend, and before I dive deeper, I also want to mention that there are a lot of different opinions on it, and my personal opinion or my personal take on all of it is that one, you do not provoke officers. That in itself is just not the way to go. But then, as a police officer, shooting someone who is laying on their belly, that is also not done. So it is very complex, it is very difficult, but it is very terrible what went on. And the fact that the people are voting very enormously, and it just like there's such a big pressure cooker moment right now with this whole Aquarian stellium, and then the fact that Uranus is about to switch back online, and then Mars Pluto, which is like destruction. There are a few different combinations playing out right now that are actually very complex in nature. So let me know what you guys think about all of it and what your opinion or take on it is. But on the 24th now, over the weekend on Saturday, we see this whole mashup of planets in Aquarius squaring off with Pluto. Pluto is the most intense planet in our zodiac wheel. So we see Mars in Aquarius about to conjunct Pluto. The sun is still on Pluto, very intense dealings, intense stuff, things being illuminated, power, leadership. Police is resembled by Mars as well, and that is all squaring off with Pluto. Now, what we see here is that Minnesota is about to have a Pluto square Pluto, and that will become fully exact now over the summer. So people are asking me, like, do you see things getting better? Well, honestly, if you look at this chart of Minneapolis for the 24th of January, we can see here that they have a stellium in Aries. So in the end of March, middle of April, the whole stellium that we are going to see in transit in the sky is about to conjunct this natal stellium. And I was just talking about my friend and the car that drove into his porch and destroying a lot of things. That is like the very difficult energy whenever we see a stellium on top of a stellium. It is just so much concentrated energy together. And this already is a very big resemblance in Mars, conflict, Uranus, upheaval, shocks, surprises, volatility, Pluto destruction. So brace yourselves for March, because definitely the end of March, April, there will be a lot of concentrated energy going over this particular place. Now, what also baffled me is that we see Mercury in the 11th house, and Mercury, it is about cities. And right now, on the 1st of February, we are seeing a full moon in the sign of Leo on 13 degrees. So exactly illuminating this aspect here. So yeah, a lot of triggering. The whole Aquarian stellium is making a yacht towards other planets. It is, yeah, it is very, very profound energy. And what I also see is that Saturn resembles the government. It is squaring off with the moon, and the moon resembles the people. So the people feel very blocked by the government. That is what is being mentioned here in the chart. But I also see is that Neptune is casting a lot of illusions. And when the shooting happened, that was on Saturday, we can see Neptune at 29 degrees, 56 minutes. So just 2 days before it jumped into Aries. So this is the maximum amount of energy that Neptune, which rules over lies, illusions, deception, can actually cast upon the people. So it is very complex energy. And then Jupiter here blowing everything up from the Aries stellium, the moon conjuncting Mars. Yeah, it is very profound astrology what we're seeing here. Yeah. So let's continue with the week ahead. And actually, I'm gonna track back one day. So, and Luther says, news narrative is movie story plot may not be what could be. Look here, not there. Yeah, exactly. A lot of things are actually happening behind the scenes right now, and there are a lot of there are a lot of things trying to get away our attention. So Definitely very interesting energy here. And hey, Ma'am Jack. And Elwood says it's color revolution tactics, Astrid. I also think that they're trying to really trigger a lot of energy right now because we know about these paid protesters and we know that there are certain people who try to really cause a mess while protesting. I saw it happening in Belgium here as well a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And yeah, there's just more going on than what meets the eye, definitely with Neptune at its maximum capability of the end of Pisces. So yeah, interesting happenings. But let's track back one day because, of course, we have Neptune that made its big ingress in Aries. So this is a very big historical turning point. Neptune at 0 degrees, it is the world point axis, so it is a very big reset button, and it is actually quite kind of dramatic because 165 years ago, Neptune ingressed into Aries, and that was the day before the Civil War kicked off. That's why we're seeing these massive echoes going on as well. And it's actually a very big shift in our spiritual timeline. Neptune is actually the planet that dissolves a lot of boundaries. It opens up our aura. It is about things that are happening or felt within the ether. And it makes us very sensitive to the collective field. And it's about inspiration, compassion, mysticism, music, also trance, escaping reality. So it can also be about addiction and denial and avoidance and illusions. So Neptune in Pisces, it was literally like the era of living inside of a dream world. And for some, it even went to delusion. So, yeah, think about 2012 and onward, the digital universe, it really became like this second reality. We weren't just like consuming the media, we were literally inhabiting it. So Neptune, it has been in Pisces since 2012, and it was in its home sign, and that shaped like an entire generation. Very emotional, mystical, confusing as well, and also compassionate, but also deeply escapist. So we were all so wrapped up in our smartphones, social media. It really turned into something very psychologically addictive. And that is what Neptune rules over about. It is addiction. So streaming, it exploded. And we saw like the whole world entering the golden age of binge watching and really like trying to untangle from like or detach from reality. So yeah, this is like spiritual bypassing, numbing out, endless content scrolling, and feeling like trust the process but without taking action on it. And for a long time that really worked until it didn't. So now, or since 2023, Saturn also came into Pisces, and he was like, okay, but let's show me what is real. And a lot of people felt very disillusioned, and he started noticing like this influencer, he's not or she's not practicing what she's preaching. A big exposure around false gurus, and a lot of the fantasies actually collapsed. And now when it jumps into Aries, Neptune says like Aries particularly says, I need to see it for myself and not tell me what to believe, but like show me the truth. I do not want the edited version anymore of Netflix, or like, you know what I mean? Do not give me the curated narrative. I need to see the truth. Aries wants the experience. It is instinct, action, proof, and it also reawakens now our desire, but within a whole new way. This time it's going to be infused with a lot of fire. So Neptune, intuition, dreams, vision, art, music, film, fantasy, and also compassion and sacrifice. That is all ruled over by Neptune. So the shadow side is, of course, deception, confusion, propaganda, and like mass psychology, and also mass psychosis formation. But at the world point axis, Neptune, it rules over these mass illusions and confusions. And unfortunately, guys, Neptune is also connected to pandemics, especially whenever Saturn conjuncts that. It's connected to like these foul mists, and Saturn is also about to conjunct at the world point axis together with Neptune on the 20th of February. So, yeah, Saturn has a very limiting or refraining effect in the sign of Aries, our identity, our need to be ourselves, and Saturn refraining that. So, yeah, let's just cross our fingers, guys. I do not want to manifest this. But definitely, it's also gonna be directly connected to our financial system that is about to change in a very profound way, because we see a new set of eclipses this year. That we're going to have new eclipses in Aquarius and in Leo. And when we look back at the historic cycles, that is actually connected to 2008 and the financial crisis. So that is definitely a very, very big change that is about to come upon us. Our financial system will change fully over the next 2 years. So Neptune is also things that, like, everything that flows. Think about liquids like water and also oil, and everything that crosses over borders and boundaries. Think also about migration, think about shipping routes. And yeah, in regards to immigration, Neptune and Pisces, there were no boundaries. Well, that is about to change in a very, very big way. Saturn, Neptune, they are about to conjunct at the EC of the US Sibley chart for the US. So the EC, it is about the borders, and there, the famous Saturn-Neptune conjunction is about to happen at that specific place. So very prominent when it conjuncts an angle. So also Neptune is about deep sea research, and Aries, it is about pioneering. We can also see like an emphasis on sea temperatures that are going to heat up, because the sign of Aries rules over heat. Neptune is about oceans, and Saturn, Neptune together, they can also be, they can be very, very big reality slap. Aries, it is what's, Aries rules over the face. It's going to be so in our face. The blindfolds are coming off. The spell is broken now with Neptune out of Pisces, but it can be very, very disillusioning. And Lena G says this weather is draining me. Yeah, you guys are in a very big snowstorm, right? Be very, very careful with driving on the road, if that's even possible. I don't think so. But Mars, Pluto together at 3 degrees destruction, and 3 degrees resembles on the road, public traffic, all of that. So be extra, extra careful. I want you guys to be safe. So yeah, with Saturn and Neptune together, it can be very disillusioning. And Neptune in Aries now, it's saying like it's no longer working. Just meditating and everything will work out. Just like trusting the universe, or just staying within your high vibe. It's not going to work anymore now. If you believe in something, because Neptune resembles our collective visions, if you believe it, you need to live it. If you feel cold, you need to act upon it. If you are awake, you need to show it. And your actions are really going to show and determine how sincere and spiritual you actually are. So, yeah, this is really the era of the spiritual warriors and not the spiritual spectators. That is completely over right now. But, however, with Neptune, we need to be very, very careful that we not start to glamorize war, because Neptune can cause the veil still. It's not in Pisces anymore, but it can do it just as well in the sign of Aries. So in Pisces, it was about celebrities and Hollywood and screens. All of that is done now. But now it really shifts into Aries, and now it will be more about conflict and like these crusades and really anger that can get glorified. So we need to be really, really mindful on that, about that, because we see a very big shift now in what humanity believes in and what it idolizes and what it's going to escape through the sign of Aries, conflict. So heroism and like bravery and all of that, that can become a whole new religion or a whole new set of beliefs. And we can also see a lot of new cults arriving, new religions, maybe even AI religions, or like alien religions, because the positive part about Neptune Saturn is actually that they promise a lot of UFO disclosure. So I'm pretty excited for that. Every time we look back in history at Saturn and Neptune conjunctions, they always coincide with flying sorcerers, UFOs, strange phenomena in the sky, extraterrestrial beings showing themselves to us. And all of that is going to get quite massive over the next couple of weeks as well. So I do expect a very big disclosure on all of that. So that is one of the positive signs. Like every conjunction or every aspect has its pros and cons, of course. And here in the chart, of course, it is a bit more conflictive here now in nature, because Neptune now disposits back to Mars, because Mars belongs to Aries, but Mars is conjunct Pluto now, destruction. So that is why it is a bit more intense right now, and why we see so many conflicts or protests kicking off. And yeah, it is not an easy ingress here for Neptune. So really use your compassion, because we're going to see people also a bit like worshipping the fighter archetype, the person who like stands up to authority, the person who takes the risk, the person who won't back down. But we also need to talk about like the shadow of Neptune. It's really gonna glamorize a lot of war stories, a lot of us versus them narratives. Think about further divide between the left versus the right. We're gonna see some reckless crusades happening, and also, yeah, spiritualized aggression, like where people are really going to feel morally justified to act without empathy, because Saturn is refraining Neptune's beautiful empathic qualities. So yeah, the question really is, are we fighting for truth, or are we actually going to be addicted or get addicted to the adrenaline of Aries? And that is something that we need to be careful about, because I can see it in my neighborhood, and especially in regards to the people who are not fully awake or not fully aware that they are really addicted to adrenaline. They like, it's like their nervous system, it is so wired on bad feelings, bad things, and that automatically attracts negative energies towards you as well. But it's like they are attracted and addicted to the negative emotions, and it is really a long process to rewire your whole brain and your whole nervous system to get off the addiction of that. So it's definitely going to get a little bit harder for the unaware people to get rid of the addiction to adrenaline and to cortisol and all of that. We're going to see a lot of more spikes within cortisol. So really something to work on if you're really struggling with that. And yeah, Aries, it also rules over the head and the brain, and many people are going to start to notice like the digital hangover, like why is my attention span fried, or why do I feel so foggy, or why do I feel so overstimulated? We are coming out of this spell, this Neptunian spell that was casted through our screens. So the lesson here is really like, you don't get to say that you don't know anymore. We don't get to float around. We don't get to sleepwalk anymore. This era of Neptune and Aries is really going to reward the people who are going to question the narratives and who are going to act with integrity, who can act in a polite way, even if they are mad. And also the people who are going to choose courage over comfort. So it can be intense, it can be a little bit destabilizing, but it's going to feel way more alive on a personal level than when we had Neptune in Pisces. So look at your chart, look where Aries is in your chart, because this is really the area in your life where your energy field is really opening up to this new ideal, where you're going to feel new inspiration and a new activation. And this can be a very big spiritual awakening within the house that Neptune is going to operate in. So Luther says, I am Aries. Yeah, I'm in Aries too. Luther, let me know how you've been feeling the shift and if you're doing okay. And Luther also says news is attention, getting time, taking every focus locally, we change our reality. Yes, I'm like all for that because where our energy goes, it grows. And we really need to use our energy to let beautiful things grow in our life. So that is beautifully said. So of course, let's take a look at today. We have the Mars Pluto conjunction, and I've already talked quite a lot about that on my previous weekly. But this is really like Mars action, anger, adrenaline, conflict, survival energy, the urge to do something right now. Stand up for yourself, speak up. In the sign of Aquarius, the collective, and Pluto is, of course, power, control. It's also fear and obsession. It rules over the underworld, and it is a very big death and rebirth transformational process. And it's also highlighting like our psychological shadow side. So yeah, this is like very high voltage. It's very forceful. But in Aquarius, it's not just personal. Aquarius is about groups of people, networks, systems, online spaces, also politics, movements, grassroots movements, communities. So yeah, we can see right now there is mass outrage. There are power struggles within groups. There are a lot of collective scandals popping up, a lot of exposure. Look at the Davos meetings also, and also look at China right now, because China is an Aquarius rising, and they also have Mars Pluto conjunct within their natal birth chart, and it's opposing that right now. So we can see so many scandals being exposed in China right now. It is quite intense. And yeah, then also, of course, this whole Aquarius stellium brings a very, very intense energy about activism and power back to the people. And that's also what we're seeing play out in a very, very big way. There is a pushback against authoritarian narratives, for example, at the Davos meetings as well this year. And there is a very big collective, we are done kind of energy, but really on like a societal level. So Pluto Mars can be like, if I'm not in control, I do not feel safe. So and it really wants to win. So yeah, choose one focused mission in the week ahead. Channel all of the intensity into training, working out, or simply working, cleansing, releasing. This is a very big purging aspect. Do not fight strangers on the internet. Do not send texts whenever you feel mad. Do not drive whenever you feel mad, and also do not doom scroll in a compulsive way, and do not engage in all the negative headlines, because Mars Pluto, it can also be very beautiful energy for like whistleblowing and fighting for the underdog and taking down corruption. And it's also beautiful for reclaiming a lot of lost parts or lost power within our life. So and Lakeside Laura says, "Hi Laura, so done with dreaming, control, and ready for truth and action. Set the double Aries." Yes, Laura, you have a lot of fire, and then you have Leo rising. So, woo, a lot of fire. I love that so much. And hi, Create Design. She says, "Here the North Node and Saturn there." Yeah. Do you mean in transit, or do you mean in birth, the combination? Because that is a very big difference. And Titanium says, this makes so much sense for the energies yesterday. Yeah, like it is amazing. Like honestly, as an Aries, on Sunday when it was like making the big shift, I was like staring at the wall, and it was like a competition staring at the wall, and I was like so lost in space, and I was like, I have so much work and I cannot seem to focus. And then I overslept this morning, and I was like, wow, hopefully this is not going to become the new normal. Otherwise, I'm quite, yeah. So it is just very intense combined energy right now. So give yourselves a break. If you don't look at, yeah, where was I? That is so typically Neptune. And we're going to shift over to the next day. So here we can see the 28th, that is tomorrow. We're going to see the moon ingressing into the sign of Gemini, and it's going to trine this whole Aquarius stellium. And we also see a Mercury conjunct Venus. So the moon in Gemini, it really processes emotions, the moon, but through our mind, Gemini, and it wants movement, flexibility, and a lot of mental stimulation to feel okay. So it's actually very good to like talk it out, think it through, ask the right questions, connect all the dots, and get a new perspective. And it's a flowing trine, so that in itself is positive, but still, it's trining all the feisty Aquarius energy. So yeah, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed as of tomorrow, you're going to be better at trying to understand what just happened. And trines, they don't remove the intensity, but they do give it like a smoother channel to operate through. So yeah, the moon in Gemini, it is curious, it is not so judgmental, it doesn't ask like who's right or who's wrong, it asks what's really going on here. And Gemini, it is a sign of the twins, two things, two sides. It's a sign of duality, and it's being able to really look at it from both sides and then form a consensus. So this moon, it really wants conversation and context. So silence can feel worse today, not because you're like avoiding your emotion, but because the Gemini moon, it really needs to exchange information to be able to regulate themselves. So yeah, this can make more sense of what Pluto Mars are actually cracking open right now. And then Mercury, Venus together. Mercury is the mind, Venus is the heart. They come hand in hand with one another. And it's like the head and the heart, they finally sit down at the table and they stop interrupting each other. They are now like listening to one another. And in Aquarius, the tone is really like, do we see the world in the same way? Or are our collective values aligned? And can we walk into the future together as of things that are going on right now? So, and it's also really questioning, is it fair, mutual, and is it sustainable? That is all the energy of Aquarius. So yeah, Aquarius, it is about equality. And if some imbalances are happening right now, it's going to become very, very obvious. And if it's not mutual, it's going to stand out. And if it feels outdated, it's going to be hard to justify it. And also note that on the day before, or like 6 hours before, these charts are always for Eastern time at noon, at the time that you are watching the show right now. So let's say, yeah, during the night, the moon is also going to hit 3 degrees here, and then it's going to make a perfect trine towards Pluto and Mars. So you can already feel that building up the day before. And also, the moon is going to conjunct Uranus. A lot of shocks and surprises as of tonight going into tomorrow. 3 degrees, it is about bus stops, things we write, we say, the media, the street, cars, newspapers, education, schools for younger kids like elementary school. And the fact that it's in connection with Mars and Pluto, I really hope we don't see more madness on the streets or within elementary schools. I hope we do not see destruction in regards to that. So yeah, I need to like really, sometimes I do not always want to say certain things because I do not want to manifest them, but they're just like really, really obvious in the chart sometimes. So I do want to warn you for that, or it is an astrological potential here. But also, this whole Aquarius stellium, it is about technology, and there is a lot of fuss going on in Canada and in the US with you guys about like the chips from China that they want to like implement in the cars and in the buses for the US and Canada. And that really like brought a moment here in politics. Aquarius rules over politics, a moment that I really loved because both sides, the left and the right, they immediately decided to work together to stop the madness. And Aquarius, it is known for like the benefit of the people, and yeah, chips in electronic cars or buses that they can like switch off or blow up. Well, that just isn't it. So I'm actually happy to see both sides get united on some particular team, and really ready to stop that together. So I hope we're going to see more of that because Neptune in Aries is going to cause more division, and I hope we can see through that together as one family. So thank you so much, Lakeside Laura, for sharing this. And I've got something else to share with you guys. So here we can see that you can celebrate timeless love with the Ascensions organized here. You can get 25% off of all your pendants, your beautiful bracelets. There's a lot of beautiful silver and jewelry. And you actually do not need any promo code. Your discount is going to be automatically applied whenever you buy it at the checkout. And this is going to be valid through February the 8th. So another beautiful Valentine's present. And I'm winking at all the guys like this is your time to celebrate your women. So go check that out, guys. On the 29th, there's another another interesting thing happening because we're going to see our first square from the moon to Saturn and the first square towards Neptune now in Aries. So this is a big one. It's going to set a very big tone, and we've never dealt with this energy before. So it is where things can get a little bit complicated, honestly, because Saturn it is about reality and limits and responsibility and a lot of consequences. And Neptune, now in Aries, newly there, all the fog and uncertainty about all the Aries themes. It casts illusions and confusion, and it's dissolving a lot of structures right now. Like this is the moment where a lot of the institutions that we've been relying on are ready to implode or crumble, and Neptune dissolves a lot of the structures, and then Saturn is going to come in and build a new foundation and a new reality. So Aries says urgency, survival instinct, action, fight or flight, and when the moon squares off, we can feel unsure, not sure of our boundaries, not sure of where we're heading. It's kind of, yeah, we've never dealt with this energy before. So be careful about mental overload and conflicting information during that specific day. It can feel a little bit frustrating, honestly. But on a mundane level, the Gemini moon here, it deposits or it talks back directly towards Mercury. And I'm going to maybe show it with my cursor here. So the moon, it is in Gemini. And Gemini, what belongs to Gemini is Mercury. And Mercury is in Sagittarius. It is on Venus. But Mercury also talks back directly to Virgo. And we have the South Node in Virgo. So a big release of probably systems, technology. It's also about like outdated work models. It's health systems that are going to become under strain. And we're going to see a highlight and very big changes in the job market and also within health system and within the financial market as well. So do not freak out. Virgo really rules over the working class, labor, healthcare, service workers, daily routines. And the first square here could really, indicate layoffs or big restructuring policies that are changing. And people can feel a little bit mentally exhausted here after like going to through looking at all the different sides and aspects and the duality, and then it's going to square off with Saturn. So some of you are going to have some trouble sleeping or some racing thoughts. Switch off your motor inside of your brain. Do breath work. That is always the astrological remedy for Gemini and other air signs. Breath work. Take a good breath in and out, and maybe you can look into box breathing if you have difficulties falling asleep. That is definitely a game changer. So on the 30th, we can see a moon conjunct Jupiter. And that is better energy, honestly, because The moon is at home in Cancer. It likes to be there. And of course, it's about like home, shelter, our housing. And with Jupiter there, there is luck, optimism, hope, big emotions, big nostalgia. It's also about like themes of family that are getting triggered and a really big urge to like nest and nourish and retreat and heal and bake cakes and just cook a good meal with your family. And yeah, there is a very deep desire or like instinct desire to be with your family and to focus on home projects. And maybe you can take some more time to be on the couch, softness, safety, resting. And yeah, you might feel a need for support, a need for another home basis, and a need to stop pushing against the tides. This is really a time when we can soften. So, the moon in Cancer in its home sign, Jupiter exalted in the sign of Cancer, it likes to be there as well. This is actually a very positive combination. And there can be like emotional reassurance from your family members and protection and nourishment. And the moon in Cancer can also give like tears that are very cleansing instead of overwhelming. There can be a big emotional release coming up after the whole Pluto Mars and the whole intelligence, all the intensity that has been building. And seventh pillar, high seventh pillar, woke woke up with a vagus nervous headache, which means the Schumann resonance amplitude disruption in progress. Well, yeah, definitely. We've been having massive solar storms. Like the intensity is through the roof right now. We had another big solar flare. The geomagnetic field is getting triggered immensely, and the grid also belongs to Aquarius. And also like resonance and electricity and frequency, it is all ruled over by Aquarius, and there we have all the intensity building up right now. So yeah, for me, listening to binaural beats and really calming down and really tuning into the frequencies, not pushing myself too hard, really helps me to balance out the vagus nervus. I also have high medical grade saffron, yeah, natural tablets that I also sometimes take, and really helps me to calm down the nerves. It's been like a very big game changer as a Virgo rising who is sometimes a little bit too overwhelmed with fixing everything, and it needs to calm down. All right, so yeah, this chart, it is actually a good one for me to see with the moon conjunct Jupiter. And another thing I actually want to highlight is that we saw news connected to the Trump administration that they have been moving along, or they did an executive order to block massive institutional buyers like BlackRock and Vanguard from actually buying up our single family homes. And whenever that happened, we actually saw the whole planetary stellium in Capricorn opposing Jupiter. And Jupiter in Cancer, it does promise beneficial things happening in the housing market. So this is already one of them, and maybe we can hear more news about our homes during this day as well. So definitely something to keep your eye on. On the 31st, we can see the first trine between the moon and the moon and Saturn we've had for a very long time. But then as it shifts over into Leo, then we will see the first trine between the moon and Neptune in Aries. That is going to be an interesting energy, because the moon trine Saturn is about emotional maturity, but without losing your boundaries or without like emotional numbness. And Saturn in Pisces, it really like teaches boundaries that are compassionate. It's about healthy limits, emotional containment, spiritual discipline, and to be able to feel everything without drowning into it. And the moon is going to support that day. So yeah, then we have the first moon in Leo, and it's going to trine Neptune. So this is important because this is such a big historical shift. And this first lunar contact in regards to a trine It's going to help us to really get to know what it's going to mean the next couple of years and how this is going to be received in the collective as well. And it can look like, okay, I need a new mission. I need a cause. I need to believe in myself again. I need to show up for myself. I need to express myself in an authentic manner. The moon in Leo, it wants to be seen. And Neptune in Aries is about beliefs in Aries in yourself. Aries is the self. So, very good day for like creativity, music, dance, romance, spiritual practices. If you need to do a performance and you are an artist, very beautiful energy. Just don't romanticize the chaos of the Aquarius stellium that will still be into play. And then the big headliner, together with Neptune in Aries, of course, this week, it is the full moon in Leo. So this is like the moment where the cosmos here is basically saying like we need to stop surviving and we need to start living again, because it's going to be, of course, a bit of a dramatic full moon because Leo rules over a bit of drama, but Leo also has very beautiful qualities. I love my fellow fire signs, and Leo, it is a sign of the heart. It rules over creativity and plays and romance. And Laura says, time to roar. Yes, exactly. Leo is also a little bit about pride and performance and joy. And it's also pointing towards our inner child. So, yeah, Leo, it really reminds us that life, it is not meant to be one long grind of productivity and survival after the entire Capricorn season and what we've been through with this whole stellium in Capricorn. It was so serious, very duty, very heavy. It was like handle your business, get your shit into place. And it's like now, okay, like when was the last time that you had a laugh? When was like the last time that you created something that wasn't for money or for approval? And it's also asking us, when was the last time that you felt truly alive? And the moon in Leo is going to trine Neptune in Aries. So that in itself, like, it is not an exact trine, but it is trine by sign. So this is going to be totally new, actually. So there is a little bit of a plot twist, of course, because we can see that, like, while the sun is in Aquarius, surrounded by this whole Aquarius pileup, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Pluto, like the whole futuristic revolution crew is hanging out in Aquarius. And the full moon in Leo, it is not just me, Leo energy. No, it is Leo versus Aquarius. There is a polarity, like we see with every full moon. It is the self, Leo, versus the collective, Aquarius, and the personal spotlight versus the crowd, and the performer versus the audience. And Leo, it wants to be seen, but Aquarius is telling Leo, like, yeah, but what are you contributing? Is it real? Is it authentic? Is it ethical? And is it evolving us? And there's a very, very big emphasis here on evolving with the whole Aquarius energy. Also, this moon, it is at 13 degrees. It is an Aries degree. So, yeah, even more Aries energy is going to come off of this full moon. It can bring, on a mundane level, a lot of drama or conflict within royal families, a lot of, yeah, drama within leadership for sure. We can see big headlines in regards to celebrities. The public opinion might flip in some kind of way. And it's really like the crowd here, what I see with all the Aquarius energy, the crowd can be turning on someone who thought they were untouchable. And something in regards to that is going to be illuminated here. We can see a massive world leader stepping down or get unalived in some kind of way, because Mars is still very close towards Pluto, with the sun there as well. This is, yeah, interesting energy. So yeah, look at all the Leo figures. And of course, like, the unaliving could be having something to do with China, because China is an Aquarius rising. But there are other important factors as well. There's going to be a bit of drama, or, yeah, People who are dominant within Leo energy are gonna be set on, like, put on the stage or become more publicly visible. And I know for the states, it's important for you to know that Trump and JD Vance, they both have a Leo rising, so it's gonna be a very important moon for them. Maybe I need to implement both charts of them whenever I do my full moon and Leo video on my Astro Astrid channel. That would be actually important to look at for this full moon and how that's going to play out for both of them, because definitely something is going to come up in regards to both of them. So the full moon in Leo, it is really about, am I living from the heart or am I performing for approval? And Aquarius is going to expose that real quick. Aquarius is very ruthless about authenticity, and it only cares if it's true and if it's beneficial for society and if it's about equilibrium or equality. And something might definitely kick off in those regards. So full moons are always about release. And here we actually need to release shame about being seen. We need to release fear of judgment of our Aquarius energy, the crowd. We need to like fully embody ourselves and our own inner Leo, and we need to release the performative versions of ourselves, but we can definitely step into the spotlight and shine and let ourselves be seen without like the performative ego attached to it. And I think that is something that we're also going to witness on the world stage. It's also an energy to really reconnect with our inner child. Leo, it is about the heart and doing all the things that make our heart sing. And we have another Leo rising. That is so cool. I'm quickly looking at the comments. Luther says, would animals born in certain months make better pets? I wonder. I don't really understand that question. Can you explain yourself a little bit more, please? So also, if you are a fixed sign, which is of course Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, and if you have something between 10 or 15 degrees, then you're gonna notice it quite strongly. And hi, Arno. That is so cool. Arno is also from Belgium. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, also, it is like, where have you been keeping yourself small? Where have you been playing it small? You need to really release that here during this moon. We need to create, play, express. We need to celebrate. We need to do something that reminds our nervous system that life, it is not just pressure and survival, because the truth is that joy and laughter and all of the good things in life, all the things that make our heart sing, it is our medicine. Joy is really the medicine for all this intensity that is currently being found here in the chart. It is the best regulator for your nervous system. So having fun is actually a form, the biggest form of emotional release, and is the thing that actually keeps us going and that keeps us connected and keeps us in high vibration. So yeah, sometimes it's okay to laugh at the very bad things that are happening in the world, because we can choose. We can either sit in the corner and cry, or we can sometimes laugh at it, try to maybe laugh it away. I'm also not talking about denial, but we need to keep it a little bit fun and light. Normally Aquarius is fun and light, but now with the Pluto Mars conjunction, it is not like that right now. So I do, however, want to remind you about really tapping into things that make you laugh and the people who make you feel good. And if you feel that you're in a toxic environment, you need to really detach yourself from that. Aquarius is about detachment. So yeah, then on the 2nd of January, to end this week, that is when the intensity is gonna start to rebuild a little bit slowly, because yeah, it is, we have Uranus here. Uranus is going to come back online on the 4th of February, and we can see all of the planets here in Aquarius about to leave this sign one by one, and Mercury is going to be the first. But before they leave Aquarius, they need to square Uranus all one by one. So this is the time, and especially February the 6th, 7th, going into that all the planets here will make a square with Uranus. But of course, I'm going to talk more about that in my monthly forecast as well. Luckily, we do see a moon trine Chiron. It's going to act a bit as a soothing balm, but still first Mercury, news in regards to our financial system that's going to change. Then Venus, money in regards, and it's all squares here, guys. It's going to create upheaval. It's going to create more revolt. Can even be about digitalization or like digital currencies, cryptocurrencies. Some things are going to really explode, others are going to crash. We're going to see financial instability in the market. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but it's just here in the cards really strongly. And also, be careful with all these squares to Uranus, and definitely when the Sun and Mars are going to square that, we need to be more mindful about accidents. And also, technological weirdness, the grid going offline, blackouts, all of that can really happen when all of these planets square Uranus. So the grid, like being overstimulated and breaking down, that is definitely also a possibility. But that will happen more towards when Mars is going to square Uranus, and it's going to be more later in the month. But still, it's already visible here in the chart. So yeah, whenever all these planets start to square off with Uranus, expect the unexpected. Don't gamble your entire future on a mood swing. That is like the best advice I can give you. Breathe again before speaking. Mercury is speaking. Don't turn a trigger into a catastrophe. Choose healing. Let disruption really like show you what's outdated and what needs to be changed and innovated here. But definitely Uranus in Taurus. Taurus rules over our financial system. It also rules over our food supplies. There is going to be upheaval in that whenever it switches back direct. So on the 28th, or was it today, the moon will pass over that, but we see a square from the moon here as well. So this is a big T square pointing at Uranus on the 2nd of February. So all eyes are on Uranus and how the collective societal upheaval is going to be triggered even more whenever these square off here with planet Uranus. So really, Uranus, it doesn't destroy what is real. It exposes what's fragile and what needs some kind of a change. So, yeah, definitely very interesting week ahead again. And Laurie Hope says, "Thank you for all you do. Try to always end my day with watching an episode of the Red Green, My Daily Laughter." That is so, so cool. We need to really look at things that make us happy. And here, seventh pillar, thank you so much, because I almost forgot to mention it, and you are sharing it here right now with us. Imbolic is like the time between, like, it's like spring for the pagans, or like a midpoint between two important happenings. I forgot the name because I know them in Dutch but not in English. I needed to write that down, but definitely thank you for sharing that, because it is a very important day, the 2nd. So, and Laura says, my sister's birthday is on February the 6th. Well, yeah, then your sister is going to have a lot of Aquarian energy squaring off with Uranus. So she's going to have a year of a lot of surprises, changes, getting kicked out of the comfort zone, but it has a very liberating effect. But squares do tend to bring in a little bit of chaos and disruption for sure. So, but wish your sister a happy birthday. And thank you so much, Laura. You are so, so sweet. I love you guys all so much. And thank you all so, so much. Okay, I think that was it for today. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, put them in the comments. I'll be looking at that and I'll be answering if you have any more questions. So, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic Rumble channel, and also, of course, on YouTube. And also, if you want to book in a reading or a couples composite chart or a couples synastry, then you can definitely book that in on the Beyond Mystic consultation page. And also don't forget to check in here during the next show with Beyond Karma and Crystal. So that is going to be very, very fun as well. So thank you guys all so much for spending time with me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you. Bye bye.